Well, it's time for another long-term review, and today we're going to be looking at the X Spods from Wolf. Now in this video we're going to be looking at both the performance and the competition version, so they're the two different sizes, and how I've used them in my fishing, what my thoughts are, and whether you should buy one or not. If we start with the X Spod Performance, because that's the first one that came out, the first version, and I think it was probably about 2.5 years ago I first got my hands on this. I remember me and Joe were doing, it's when we were doing our day ticket series, and we were down at Berners Hall, so during that session we used them for the first time. And to start with, we kind of thought, is there much need for another type of bait rocket, if you want to call it that? And quite quickly into using them we realised that there definitely was. 2.5 years later we're still both using these exclusively, so yeah, they tick all the boxes for what we need. There seems to be little issues with each of the other ones on the market. Sometimes they won't open, sometimes little bits of particle get stuck, and yeah, like I said, it causes it to jam, or you then can't shut it. But with this X Spod, I haven't really found anything to make me think, oh, that's annoying. So I mean, that's quite a good sign, and that's why I'm still using it now. It's a really simple idea, and it's just been done well. So in terms of the actual build of it, it's made from a really hard wearing plastic, and it's quite thick. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It's quite a thick plastic, but it's still quite flexible, which it needs to be because of the way it actually works. So when you're loading it, obviously you need to open it up to the side. When it actually hits the water, it opens up in 4 ways like that, hence the X name. So it's got to be flexible, but it's also got to be hard wearing because you're using it time and time again, and it's hitting the water with quite an impact. I think this is the original one that I had way back at Berners Hall, so it's definitely lasted the test of time. There's a few little scrapes on it and things like that, but overall it's still working. A few things that I was concerned about when we first got them: on the inside there's little magnets, and you'd think that over time they might come out, which obviously would ruin the whole mechanism, because the way they actually work is they magnet together, and then upon impact they kind of open up. So things like that could easily fall out over time, but these haven't done, and I've used this quite a lot, and like I say, it's still it's still like as if I just bought it from a shop. So yeah, that's part of the reason that I use it all the time, because it is really hard wearing. Another reason is they open pretty much every time. I'd say 95 out of 100 casts open, so you still get the odd one, but half the time that's where it hasn't quite landed properly. I probably haven't cast it properly, so I can't fault it in that sense. There's nothing to get clogged up in the mechanism, so it's always going to work. It's easy to fill up. You've literally got to open one side, and then you can pour in all your bait and then just close it off. And the magnets are so strong that you can actually hold liquids in them as well. So if you wanted to, you can really put out a spod full of liquid. But even if you're using kind of washed out baits that have got some of the water in, it doesn't matter if you get in it. It's not all just going to drip out and spray everywhere on every cast. It will actually stay in there. So again, if you've got glugged baits and you wanted to keep that liquid actually around the baits until it actually goes out and hits the water, then it will keep all of that inside. So yeah, overall I really can't fault it. It casts well. You can easily, I mean, better casters will easily be able to cast them 150 yards if they've got the right sort of setup, if not further. I can cast it about 120, which is fine for what I do. So yeah, that is the X Spod Performance. And then last year, might have even been towards the end of the year before that, they brought out this X Spod Competition, which has actually been really handy. So it's basically just a smaller version of the original X Spod. It works in exactly the same way. You've got the magnets inside, and it just splits up into 4. But yeah, like I say, it's a smaller version, so it takes less quantity. And I found this more and more useful as time's gone on, because I found myself now using 9-foot rods more and more. So I don't always have a 12-foot spod rod with me, or very rarely, to be honest, have one with me. So something this sort of size, as opposed to the bigger brother, is actually really handy, because I can put this onto my 9-foot rods, and if I just want to get a little bit of bait out close by, I can use it. So I don't have to worry about bringing a separate spod rod. So that's where this one really fits into my fishing, because it just makes everything easy. You've got less to carry, and yeah, because it's smaller, it's a bit lighter. You can use it on a normal rod. You don't have to worry about having a specialist spodding set up with braid and everything. So yeah, it's really handy. Been using this one probably more so than the original one over the last year, because I've been using my shorter rods for the majority of my fishing. So the other nice thing with the smaller ones is you don't need to cast as far. So with the bigger version, it's generally best on a longer cast. Obviously it has that higher trajectory, so then you get more impact when it actually hits the water. With this, you can get away with shorter casts and then it still opens just as well. So I'd say if you're fishing up to about 80 yards, then this one will be more than enough. If you want the extra distance and you want to be putting more bait out because you want to be doing less casts, then obviously the bigger one comes into its own. But when we actually done testing with these, if you had the right setup, so a slightly shorter rod, slightly lighter rod, then the competition actually went nearly as far as the original Performance did on a 12-foot setup. So as long as you match everything up right, I'm sure you could probably put this about 120, 130 yards as well. So yeah, they've both really got their own kind of areas where they excel. And like I say, I've been using the competition more and more since I've been using the shorter rods and just fishing smaller venues. The other nice thing about this is where it's smaller, obviously it's a bit more discreet when it lands. So this has been really good for getting floaters out as well. So I have used it in the past just to get floaters out at range, whereas you wouldn't want obviously the bigger one, you wouldn't want that landing amongst a load of feeding fish. But something like this, it's like I say, a bit more discreet, a bit lighter, and it still opens nicely even though it's a softer impact. So yeah, that is the X Spod. That is a long-term review. Hopefully that's been of use to you, and it might make you kind of think when you see them in the tackle shop, maybe it's worth giving it a go. So if you do need any more information about these, then head over to the Wolf website. And if you like these long-term reviews, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on our various social media channels as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.